Imagine surviving a shipwreck, only to find yourself trapped on a remote island. No food, almost no fresh water, no rescue in sight. But what happened next was far worse than starvation. This is the true story of the Batavia, one of the darkest survival stories in history. In 1629, a Dutch ship called the Batavia was sailing toward the East Indies, carrying over 300 passengers and crew. There were merchants, soldiers, families, even children on board. Everything seemed normal, until, in the middle of the night, the ship struck a reef off the coast of what is now Australia. Panic spread instantly. The ship began to break apart, and people were thrown into the ocean. In the chaos, many lost their lives. But somehow, around 280 people managed to survive and make it to a chain of small, barren islands nearby. At first, survival felt like a miracle, but that feeling didn't last long. The islands were harsh and unforgiving. There were no trees, no reliable food sources, and almost no fresh water. The survivors quickly realized they were completely stranded. No ships passed by, no help was coming, at least not anytime soon. Faced with this situation, the ship's commander made a desperate decision. He would take a small group in a lifeboat and sail away to search for help. He promised he would return, but that meant leaving hundreds of people behind alone. Days turned into more days. The survivors tried to organize themselves. They searched desperately for water and rationed whatever little supplies they had managed to save. But it wasn't enough. Hunger grew, thirst became unbearable, and slowly, hope began to fade. That's when a man named Geronimus Cornelis stepped forward. At first, he appeared to take control, offering direction in a moment of chaos. But it soon became clear his intentions were not to save everyone. With no authority left on the islands, Cornelis saw an opportunity. Food was scarce, and instead of trying to preserve the group, he believed that fewer people would mean better chances for survival, for himself and those loyal to him. He began gathering followers, people who would obey him, and then everything changed. Under his control, the group descended into violence. Survivors began turning on each other. Fear spread across the islands as Cornelis and his followers started eliminating others, one by one. Men, women, even children were not spared. No one knew who to trust anymore. Survival was no longer just about finding food or water. It became about staying alive from each other. But not everyone accepted this. Earlier, a small group had been sent to a nearby island to search for water. By pure chance, they actually found it. And when they realized what was happening back on the main island, they made a decision. They would not return. Instead, they prepared to defend themselves. When Cornelis' men eventually came for them, a violent confrontation broke out. Against all odds, the smaller group managed to fight back. They resisted, held their ground, and refused to fall under his control. Months later, a rescue ship finally returned. But what they found was something no one could have imagined. The islands had become a place of horror. Over 100 people were dead. The survivors were traumatized, broken by everything they had witnessed. Cornelis and his followers were captured. Justice came quickly. Several of them were executed shortly after being found. The story of the Batavia is not just about survival. It's about what happens when order disappears, when fear takes over, and when power falls into the wrong hands. Stranded with no food, no hope, and no rules, people didn't just struggle to survive. They turned on each other. And it leaves one haunting question. What would you do if you were in their place?